Live from RT's main studios here in Moscow, it's Kevin Owen with you this hour. Thanks very much for choosing us wherever you're watching around the world. First then, at 5 p.m, just gone Moscow time, in southern Germany, a small village is welcoming some of the world's most powerful leaders for the G7 summit. Ahead of getting down to business, the atmosphere's been jovial. US President Barack Obama in particular in a jokey mood.
I must admit that when I first learned that Angela was going to host the G7 in Bavaria, I was hoping that it would fall during Oktoberfest. But then again, there's never a bad day for a beer, and vice versa. I want to thank everybody for this wonderful visit to this beautiful village. I know it's a lot of hard work when I come to town. That was, without question, the best Alphorn performance that I've ever heard. I have to admit that I forgot to bring my lederhosen, but I'm going to see if I can buy some while I'm here.
Well, beyond the summit venue, though, the atmosphere less friendly. Over 20,000 police officers have been deployed to ensure protests don't disrupt the summit. RT's Harry Fear caught up with one group of demonstrators.
It is indeed incredibly high security. It's hard to tell just how many protesters there are here. There are so many disparate groups. There are various routes planned, but we don't know exactly how many there are. At least several hundred. Their messages are anti-G7, they're anti-TTIP, they're anti-NATO, they're anti-global inequality, and they're anti-war. This is just one of protests taking place. As I say, I just want to show you the column here of protesters being escorted by the police. It's a highly managed event. The police, as you can see, well prepared for a riot. At present, there's been no misconduct of any means. But the police budget, or the security budget for this whole G7 summit, it's estimated it will total 200 million euros, a very expensive price ticket for just a few thousand protesters here.
So then, the world leaders have now secluded themselves for talks in a lavish sanctuary nestled in the Bavarian Alps. According to the resort, it's the best place to, quote, just do nothing and dwell in possibility, end quote. Well, there are over 100 rooms to choose from, and guests have a selection of restaurants too, from Thai to Italian. After the talks, the heads of state can soak their worries away in one of the many spas. 2 nights cost over €3,000. The EU Council heads urged the G7 leaders to keep in place sanctions against Russia over Ukraine, but at the same time, Donald Tusk said that the group would like to see Moscow back in the ranks.
All of us would prefer to have Russia around the G7 table, but our group is not only the political or economic group of interest, but first of all, this is a community of values. And that is why Russia is not among us here today.
I spoke about that then to investigative journalist Tony Gosling, who says Western politicians are reviving Cold War rhetoric.
Really take issue with these statements coming out of Tusk, Juncker, and we just heard that one from Cameron about European nations being united against Russia. Look, this is old Cold War talk. It's really driven by the Americans, and it certainly doesn't represent the views of European people or business, which is a bit worrying, isn't it? That you've got all these so-called leaders on a completely different page to most of the 250 million of the public of Europe. So that's one of the things that bothers me most about this, is they do seem to be on another planet.
Well, for the latest on the G7 talks and the protests around it, follow RT's correspondents on all our platforms and, of course, our website as well, rt.com.